Parliament, Oleksii Goncharenko, also joins us. Let's start with you, Oleksii. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the programme. We're not saying exactly where you are we, this morning, for reasons of your own security?
No, we can say I'm in Kiev. I'm a member of territorial defense of Kiev, and like thousands of my compatriots, I took weapons in my arms. So I'm in Kiev, and we're ready to fight for the city. Right.
So tell us what it is that, at what point you decided to take up arms, and what your view is of how Kyiv will withstand what many are seeing after this brief pause, if you like, in that 40-mile convoy being sluggish, that if they are given more fuel, more food, and the airstrikes continue, it will be horrific in Kyiv. What is the morale, and at what point did you decide to take up arms yourself?
It was the first day of the invasion, and it was clear that we need to fight if we want to save our land and our homes. And I have no other choice. And also, I think it's important to encourage my compatriots, citizens of Ukraine, to show that even members of the parliament are taking weapons in their arms just to fight for the country. And that's why me, and not only me, but a number of other members of the parliament, we did it. And from that time, I have not left Kiev just for 1 second. I'm here. Yesterday, for example, we organized evacuation from Irpin. It's a town satellite of Kiev. Today, we will continue to do this. And we are ready to fight Russian army if they will penetrate to Kiev. But for the moment, our army is absolutely brilliantly holding the ground, and Russians could not go and could not enter the Kiev. They have great losses. More than 10,000 Russian soldiers and officers are already killed, and that's the biggest losses of Russian army from the Second World War.
Oleksii, could we ask you what your day-to-day life was like just merely a couple of weeks ago? What would you have been doing on a Thursday morning about this time?
Now I'm preparing to go. We have a mission to evacuate people from outskirts of Kiev, where people are suffering humanitarian catastrophe, like in Mariupol. People don't have water, electricity, connection, food for 10, 12 days. And certainly that's awful, with children, with elderly, women. So it's something unbelievable in the middle of Europe in the 21st century. So now we will do this mission. After this, I will be on base, some checkpoints, shifts, and also I am connecting to media like now with you.
Sure.
And also I work with my colleagues from, for example, House of Commons, Congress, l'Assemblée nationale de France, etc., just to show them what we need to organize this support around Ukraine and to provide us with everything we need.
Yeah, sorry, I understand that's what you're doing today, but I mean just before the conflict broke out, because you are you're a politician, you are part of a very civilized society, and all of a sudden you are taking up. We are seeing pictures of you with a machine gun on the streets of your city, having to fight to defend your homeland. I was interested in understanding what life was like for you before all this started.
It's only 2 weeks, yes, of war, but it seems for me that it was like another life, like, I don't know, another century. But yes, it was like I'm a politician. Every morning I went to the parliament, I voted, I spoke on the floor. I was preparing laws, and I worked with the pen and pencil. Now that's my instrument, and it's always with me now, and I never can be without it. That's our reality. But I hope that will change. I hope that will change in nearest future with the help of Western countries, but we need more support.
And that's interesting because there is a difference in view on what that support should look like from NATO, from the West. There were those Polish fighter jets that were offered to America to give to you. That was rejected by America. There's now a sort of a conflict, I think, in opinion, whether a no-fly zone is something that obviously Vladimir Zelensky still wants. But others there on the ground are saying, just send us your anti-air missiles, which is what the UK is trying to do for you. Where do you stand on that? Do you feel that Kyiv and Ukraine needs a no-fly zone in order to defeat the Russians? Or can you do it without that?
Thank you. Yes, we really need it. And I just want a quick remind that in 1994, Ukraine gave up the third biggest in the world nuclear weapons arsenal. It was just for non-proliferation of nuclear weapons and on guarantees of Russian Federation. Yeah, it's very funny now. United States and United Kingdom, we did it. And now we need support, and I hope, and really United Kingdom is showing leadership here. So thank you very much. God save the Queen. But really, we have problems with receiving these fighters. I can't understand why. That's old Soviet fighters, because our pilots know what to do with them. Just please provide us with them. But for the moment, we are asking day after day, and nothing is happening. Yes, we need anti-air defense. Desperately need them. So we are not asking for your boots on the ground. We are not asking for your pilots in our sky. We are ready to do everything ourselves. But we need weapons, we need aircrafts, we need more air defense, because you saw what they're doing with people in our country from air. They are bombing hospitals, maternity houses, kindergartens, schools. That's awful. That's a crime against humanity. And we can stop it ourselves. But please help us. In other case, if we will be not helped, it means that just Western countries just are looking at this, saying that they are so much pity about this, but doing nothing.
Yeah.
Oleksii, you sound incredibly passionate, as you would be. What are your fellow Ukrainians and your friends and family who are still there with you and fighting alongside you? How is morale this morning? Do you still feel confident that you can hold the Russians off and you can defeat Putin?
Yes, I am absolutely sure about this. I don't have any doubts, because we have alliance of people, curse of people staying in military centers just to go to army. We have more than 100,000 my compatriots like me, without big military experience or without any, like me, who joined territorial defense. So we have more than 100,000 Ukrainian men who came back to Ukraine.
Oleksii Goncharenko is a member of Ukraine's parliament, and he joins me now from Kiev. And very good to talk to you, Oleksii. Thanks for being with us. And Ukrainian forces seem to be putting up quite a fight.
Not quite a fight. I can say Ukrainian forces are winning. That's the reality. The plan, Putin's plan was to take Kiev in 2 days. Then he gave them 2 more days. And I can tell you, he can give them 200 more days or 2,000 more days. We will not surrender. Like you told, I heard about a 68-year-old man who said, I will take my rifle, hunting rifle, and we will fight. And that's about tens of thousands of people in Ukraine. Me being not absolutely military person, that's what I'm sitting with. And I'm in the headquarters of one of the territorial defense battalions. And we have a number of MPs there. And we're just waiting. If the enemy will enter the city and move to the center, we will go and fight and defend the parliament. So that is Ukrainian parliamentarism, not to vote, but to fight with an automatic rifle.
Yeah, and Oleksii, how long do you think you can hold out for?
I'm sure that we will hold on. The time is not here. I mean, we will hold on till the moment we will win. That's the whole story. And when it will be, it depends not only from us and from our armed forces, but certainly of Western countries and free world. And we are waiting for more sanctions against Russian Federation. The first steps are good, but we need to go further. Even kickoff from SWIFT is partial. Only a targeted list of Russian banks are kicked off, and others are not. So these allow Putin's regime to find the ways out from the sanctions. Also, we believe in the ban, embargo on Russian oil and gas, because it's a bloody oil, bloody gas. It's full of Ukrainian blood now, including Ukrainian children. And certainly non-fly zone. I just want to address thank you very much, through your media, UK politicians to help us in this, because non-flight zone is something very important, even first of all from humanitarian point of view, because you know that Russians are using aircrafts and missiles to attack residential areas, hospitals, kindergartens, and that is awful. And people in Kiev now, you know, that like in London in 1940 are sitting in metro stations for hours each day. So that's something that should be stopped, and NATO can help us in this, just closing our skies. We're not asking for boots on the ground. We're ready to fight for ourselves, but in the skies, we really need help.
I mean, the danger is, or the fear is, that NATO trying to enforce a no-fly zone could lead to a much broader war.
I can tell you that the fear should be that if Putin would not be stopped here, there will be much broader war. He will go forward, he will go further, he will go to Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, Georgia. It's a Hitler. He will never stop. No Munich, because Munich 1938, that's he is looking for. But I already see that that will not happen. We need D-Day, we need landing in Normandy, we need something like this to stop a bigger war. And don't forget that there are other dictatorships throughout the planet, which now are very much looking at Putin and thinking, what will be his destiny? And if he would be successful, I'm sure he would not because of our resistance, but if he would be successful, they will also attack their neighbors, those whom they don't like. So it will be a disaster. So free world should now show the strength.
It seems that, as you say, President Putin miscalculated on many fronts. He miscalculated the resistance, underestimated the resistance of the Ukrainian forces and the Ukrainian people. He seems to have miscalculated on sanctions. He probably didn't think he was going to get hit quite as hard as he has. But do you think a cornered President Putin, a President Putin whose options are running out, becomes a dangerous President Putin, a more dangerous President Putin?
Let us not say that, let us not corner Putin, because why Putin is cornered? Let him take his forces out from Ukraine. Ukraine is not saying, give us Moscow. We not have any intentions on Russian territory. Just to take off from our territory. That's all we want. So he is cornering himself. Not somebody is cornering him. And quicker he will understand this, better it will be.
And just finally, and very briefly, do you have any hope at all that something may result from the talks that are going on between Ukraine and Russia today?
You know, speaking with Russia, you need to have a tactical rifle in your hands. And because we have now, I think there is some chance. If not today, maybe the next days, with the strong position of the free world, they need to go to the peace talks. I believe in this.
Okay, Oleksii, look, thank you very much. And
thank you.
I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Counting circumstances, not bad. We are fighting. We are alive. Situation in Kiev is absolutely under control. There is no Russians in the city. The closest Russians to city are in 15-20 kilometers. They try to push to the city, but our army just absolutely heroically just stopped them, and they couldn't move any inch. So we are fighting, and even these 40 miles convoy, that's true, they're taking it's like, you know, like Tatarian invasion to Europe, like it was 800 years ago. Just they are endless. But we burned already several such convoys, and I'm sure that our men and women, brave men and women from army, will do it again.
And what do you think about the West's response so far, the response of NATO, the response of EU countries and other countries as well? Do you think it's been sufficient, or actually do you think they need to do much more?
It is, you know, I don't want to look, you know, that everything is bad. We appreciate all help, but definitely I think that should be more. Because we are fighting not only for ourselves, we are fighting for the whole free world. If Putin would be successful in Ukraine, he would never stop. He would continue to Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland. And when I hear, oh, but let us not to get in conflict with him, NATO countries, sorry, but you will be in contact with him if you will not stop him here. But he will be more aggressive, he will be more strong, and now we showed that we can fight him, so just help us. What we need, we don't ask for your boots on the ground. We are ready to fight for ourselves, but we need a closed sky. We need to defend us from the sky, because they are using aircrafts and missiles not only to hit military aims, but civilians. We have hospitals under attack, maternity houses, kindergartens, schools, and it's awful. This last attack on Kharkiv, it's so barbarian. I just ask you to show people the video, like big ballistic missiles are hitting 1.5 million city. Just imagine this. And we have a dozen of killed. I don't know how many dozens of wounded. Our men and women and children and elderly people are underground. They live in underground stations, on subways, because it's like in London in 1940. So you understand it better than many others. So please help us just to stop this terror from the sky.
OK, all right, understood. I think that message is loud and clear. I'm seeing various videos of captured Russian soldiers calling home, being allowed to call home, and being quite confused about the situation. Do you think that all of the Russian military realised that they were going to war?
No, they use just Putin. It's something unbelievable. There is a video on my Telegram channel. Everybody can join it and watch it. When we found the food, the special food for military people. I don't know the word in English. Like these boxes for military, just to eat on the way. And the expiry date is 2015. Once again, 7 years ago. So their attitude to their own soldiers and officers as to animals. No, even good owner will not do this to animal. Yeah. So that is something incredible. Certainly these people do not want to fight. Many of them didn't know that there will be a war. Many of them were told that it's a military trainings. Yeah. Others were told that Ukrainians are waiting for them with the flowers in their hands, but Ukrainians are waiting for them with rifles and javelins.
Oleksii Goncharenko, who is a Ukrainian member of parliament for Odessa, a port city by the Black Sea. Thank you for joining us. Can you confirm these reports that we are now hearing too, that 18 people have died in an airstrike on a military base in Odessa?
I heard this, and I even saw video. Yes, and in the morning in my constituency there was missile attack on another military point, and 6 were killed. And so altogether, I think now we have not less than 100 victims in the country, maybe more. Nobody knows. And yes, that's the situation.
And how are people in Odessa dealing with this? How are they feeling? There must be not just fear, but panic right now too.
Some people are panicking, some are not. We ask people not to panic because it's the worst thing that could be done. But the situation is extremely difficult, and the Russian invasion is on the way. And we see that Putin is not going to stop on Ukraine. He's going to go further. That's why we are waiting so much for strong response from the world. Because now Ukrainians are fighting for the whole civilized world. We want to see also that we will receive some help.
So, Oleksii, what would that strong response look like? What kind of sanctions, for instance, would you like to see?
Ban an embargo on Russian oil and gas, because in each barrel of Russian oil and in each cubic meter of Russian gas, there is now Ukrainian blood. It's a bloody gas and bloody oil, and it should be stopped and banned. Embargo, full embargo. Russian export is 2/3 oil and gas. That will punish them severely. Secondly, it's SWIFT system to disconnect Russian financial system from the world's financial system. That would also severely influence the Russian economy. That's two things that I think should be done now.
We've heard from Jens Stoltenberg today that he will not be sending NATO troops to Ukraine. Would you like to see, though, further military support sent to your army to support them?
Certainly, but you need to understand that almost all airports in the country are already not functioning because Russians started with them. So we realized that nobody would fight for us, just ourselves. But I just want to remind you that in 1994, Ukraine had the third biggest nuclear weapons arsenal in the world. And we are the first nation in the world which voluntarily gave up its nuclear weapons on the ask of the United Kingdom, the United States, and Russian Federation. And now people are calling me and asking, if we would have a nuclear weapon now, what would be? It would be impossible. That's what's going on now. And that's the question. We received their guarantees. And now everybody is saying, oh, no, we are not going to fight for you. We understand it. But what can NATO do? It's just to make a non-fly zone over Ukraine, like it was in Libya, like it was in Syria, because Russians are using aircrafts to bomb civilian objects and kill also civilians. It's in the 21st century in the middle of Europe.
But do you believe that your military can withstand the Russian military might alone?
We'll do our best.
We wish you all the very best and thank you so much for joining us.
Ukraine MP Oleksii Goncharenko. Welcome to the programme. First of all, we're hearing reports this morning that your president is asking for a sped-up accession into the European Union. Is that a call that you would support?
Yes, absolutely. And I've heard a little piece of discussion your previous, and I just want to say several words. I will be very calm. I just want to tell again what is very important. How Russia is protecting its security, just killing our children. We have 16 children killed. We have more than 350 adults killed. We have millions of people hiding in shelters and in metro, like in London in 1940. So that's probably Hitler also thought that he was struggling for his security, bombing London, killing Englishmen there at that time. Probably he was looking for security of the Third Reich in France, in Belgium, in Poland, in Ukraine. That's the story, because Putin is a Hitler of 21st century. And I know that even at that time there were some strange people who said, oh, he has the right to kill other people. But I don't accept that somebody has this right. We are not invading to anybody, we are not aggressors to anybody, but we will kill them. They came to our land and we will kill them in thousands, and we are doing this right now. Thousands of them are dead because they came to us, to our home, to kill us, and we will not gonna give them this possibility. About your question about European Union, that's the future of our country. I'm sure that everybody now in Europe understands that in reality, Europe cannot be safe without safe Ukraine. That's clear. Just to see that where our territory is bombed, we have nuclear power stations. Is it safe for the world? Just from this point of ecology, we have chemical factories, pipelines. Secondly, millions of refugees. Where will they go if their houses will be bombed and destroyed by Russian aggressor? And thirdly, and the most important, if somebody thinks that aggressor will stop on Ukraine, that's a huge mistake. In 1938, Europe made this mistake and tried to appease aggressor. And how it ended all? It ended with a bigger war, because such peace is false peace. We need to stop aggressor, and to take Ukraine in European Union, it means to make European Union stronger, because our army is the strongest army in Europe. Everybody sees this now. And it will make certainly the whole world safer place, because we are not going to invade to anybody, but we will protect ourselves, and Ukraine will protect Europe like we do now.
And can I just thank you for your words that you started this conversation with? I have to say that the vast majority of people in the United Kingdom, certainly, but also by the looks in Europe and in the United States, stand solidly behind you and your cause. Joining the European Union is something that can't happen in short order, and currently in the next days and weeks there are real issues and decisions to be dealt with. What more would you like to see the United Kingdom in particular do in the next days and weeks that might be of assistance?
Thank you very much for your question. Yes, what we need now we need a non-fly zone over Ukraine. Because we are not looking for, for boots on our ground. We are ready to fight ourselves. And we don't ask British people, American people to fight for us. But we ask you to help us to protect the skies. Because the Russians are using aircrafts and missiles to hit residential houses, kindergartens, hospitals, schools. Just this night they destroyed a museum with Maria Primachenko, which is one of the best in the world primitivists. And a number of her paintings are lost for the culture of the whole world, and so on and so on. So they are making a genocide, real genocide, in the middle of Europe in the 21st century. So please help us, and I address to British politicians and to British society and those who listen to us, to push their politicians to make this decision to help us to protect the skies. That's important. And secondly, sanctions. It's ban on Russian energy. That will end this war very quickly. If there will be embargo on Russian oil and gas, because Russian oil and gas is now bloody gas, bloody oil, because it's full of Ukrainian blood. Now, that will stop war very quickly, because what is Russia? Russia is a very big gas station. That's all. That's all. 2/3 of their export is oil and gas. Without this, the economy will stop, and Putin will need to go to peace talk. We want only peace. We don't want to take Moscow. We don't want their land. We just want them to go out from our country. That's what we want.
And it's your assessment, then, that were we to have a Europe-wide or a Western-wide embargo against Russian energy, that could precipitate the fall of Mr. Putin?
Yes, that will stop him, because he will not have a possibility to afford this aggression anymore. I spoke this night, Ukrainian night, it was time in Ukraine, with 6 or 7 prominent Republican congressmen, special conference in Zoom, and I said this to them. I spoke with the members of House of Commons and House of Lords, because I have many friends among them, and including I'm a member of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, and including UK leader of delegation to the PACE, John Howell, Ian Liddell-Granger, who is head of European Conservative Group, and I asked their help. So I address this to all my colleagues with whom I am working, and certainly I address it to public, to society. We need to do it together. Let's show that free world is strong enough. Because after Afghanistan, it seems to me that some dictators decided that free world is not so strong, it is weak, and they can do whatever they want. And that is a huge challenge for the world. We need to show them now that free world can unite and can be strong enough, and that will end the crisis. In other case, we will have only bigger and bigger and bigger crisis, and more and more dangerous.
I noticed that behind you there's a guy, I believe that's an AK-47 sitting on your shelf.
Absolutely, shot one, yes.
Are you personally ready to get there out on the streets and fight the Russian invaders?
Yes, that's my personal. I'm not military man. I have very little military experience, but I'm in the center of Kiev, and I'm in the battalion of territorial defense. And if Russian occupants will enter the city, here there will be a hell for them, and I will be a part of this hell.
And can you give us a sense of what is going on right now in the centre of Kiev? Can you hear the Russian bombs coming down? How close have they got to you this moment?
This night was probably the calmest from the beginning, because we are really winning them. And they tried to take Kiev, Putin said, in 2 days. Then by the way, his puppet regime in Belarus, Lukashenko, just for understanding, again, that they will not stop, they would not never stop on Ukraine. He said, when we will start the war, it was several days before the war, we will take Ukraine in hours, and in 3 days we will be at La Manche. So for your understanding, where they extend their ambitions. So as you see, they're not at La Manche, but there are thousands in hell already, and they couldn't even to get to Kiev. So this night was probably the calmest one, because last night they entered a little bit Kiev and they were destroyed on the streets of Kiev. This night they couldn't enter at all. So, but there was air attacks, and there was the Syrians, and people were running to shelters. But this became, our routine. But there are no fightings on the streets, and the city is completely safe. And today there is an end of curfew. There was a curfew in the city for the last 2 days, but now people can go to the streets and can move around. So we have situation under control.
Now, we've been hearing in the UK that some former servicemen from this country may be going across to help out in Ukraine. The Foreign Secretary, Liz Truss, appeared to endorse that yesterday, although there's been a little bit more confusion this morning. What would be your message to former members of the British Armed Forces? Should they go and help?
Thank you very much. If you have such a desire, that's a great thing. We're really struggling here for us, for you, for our freedom, for your freedom, for our values, for your values, because we share common values. We will be happy to fight with you shoulder to shoulder. So if you have such possibility, join us. And that will be an honor for us to be fighting together with you. Let's make our page in history. Let's write this page in history. Stop this brutal war and stop this mad Hitler of 21st century, Putin.
Well, Oleksii Goncharenko, thank you very much for your perspective here.
Thank you. Thank you.
And stay safe in the middle of Kyiv, and good luck.
Will do.
Your fight.
Oleksii Goncharenko is a member of Ukraine's parliament, and he joins me now from Kiev. And very good to talk to you, Oleksii. Thanks for being with us. And Ukrainian forces seem to be putting up quite a fight.
Not quite a fight. I can say Ukrainian forces are winning. That's the reality. The plan, Putin's plan was to take Kiev in 2 days. Then he gave them 2 more days. And I can tell you, he can give them 200 more days or 2,000 more days. We will not surrender. Like you told, I heard about a 68-year-old man who said, I will take my rifle, hunting rifle, and we will fight. And that's about tens of thousands of people in Ukraine. Me being not absolutely military person, that's what I'm sitting with. And I'm in the headquarters of one of the territorial defense battalions. And we have a number of MPs there. And we're just waiting. If the enemy will enter the city and move to the center, we will go and fight and defend the parliament. So that is Ukrainian parliamentarism, not to vote, but to fight with an automatic rifle.
Yeah, and Oleksii, how long do you think you can hold out for?
I'm sure that we will hold on. The time is not here. I mean, we will hold on till the moment we will win. That's the whole story. And when it will be, it depends not only from us and from our armed forces, but certainly of Western countries and free world. And we are waiting for more sanctions against Russian Federation. The first steps are good, but we need to go further. Even kickoff from SWIFT is partial. Only a targeted list of Russian banks are kicked off, and others are not. So these allow Putin's regime to find the ways out from the sanctions. Also, we believe in the ban, embargo on Russian oil and gas, because it's a bloody oil, bloody gas. It's full of Ukrainian blood now, including Ukrainian children. And certainly non-fly zone. I just want to address thank you very much, through your media, UK politicians to help us in this, because non-flight zone is something very important, even first of all, from humanitarian point of view, because you know that Russians are using aircrafts and missiles to attack residential areas, hospitals, kindergartens, And that is awful. And people in Kiev now, you know, that like in London in 1940 are sitting in metro stations for hours each day. So that's something that should be stopped. And NATO can help us in this, just closing our skies. We're not asking for boots on the ground. We're ready to fight for ourselves. But in the skies, we really need help.
I mean, the danger is, or the fear is, that NATO trying to enforce a no-fly zone could lead to a much broader war.
I can tell you that the fear should be that if Putin would not be stopped here, there will be much broader war. He will go forward, he will go further. He will go to Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, Georgia. It's a Hitler. He will never stop. No Munich. Because Munich 1938, that's he is looking for. But I already see that that will not happen. We need D-Day, we need landing in Normandy, we need something like this to stop a bigger war. And don't forget that there are other dictatorships throughout the planet, which now are very much looking at Putin and thinking, what will be his destiny? And if he would be successful, I'm sure he would not because of our resistance. But if he would be successful, they will also attack their neighbors, those whom they don't like. So it will be a disaster. So free world should now show the strength.
It seems that, as you say, President Putin miscalculated on many fronts. He miscalculated the resistance, underestimated the resistance of the Ukrainian forces and the Ukrainian people. He seems to have miscalculated on sanctions. He probably didn't think he was going to get hit quite as hard as he has. But do you think a cornered President Putin, a President Putin whose options are running out, becomes a dangerous President Putin, a more dangerous President Putin?
Let us not say that, let us not corner Putin, because why Putin is cornered? Let him take his forces out from Ukraine. Ukraine is not saying, give us Moscow. We not have any intentions on Russian territory. Just to take off from our territory. That's all we want. So he is cornering himself. Not somebody is cornering him. And quicker he will understand this, better it will be.
And just finally, and very briefly, do you have any hope at all that something may result from the talks that are going on between Ukraine and Russia today?
You know, speaking with Russia, you need to have a tactical rifle in your hands. And because we have now, I think there is some chance. If not today, maybe the next days, with the strong position of the free world, they need to go to the peace talks. I believe in this.
Okay, Oleksii, look, thank you very much. And
thank you.
I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Listening to that is Oleksii Goncharenko, Ukrainian European Solidarity Party MP. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I don't know if you could hear that, but Joachim Bitterlich was saying that that Ukraine needs to hold off, really, in its push to become a member of NATO and stay a neutral bridge between Russia and the West. What do you think of that?
It's a very beautiful fairy tale, but it's a fairy tale and Putin killed it, absolutely. In 1994, Ukraine were the only nation in the human history which voluntarily gave up its nuclear weapons arsenal. At that moment, we had the third biggest nuclear weapons arsenal in the world, bigger than in the UK. And we voluntarily gave up it under all these stories and fairy tales that all these countries, Russian Federation, the United States, the United Kingdom, will guarantee our sovereignty, territorial integrity, and all of this became nothing now. And part of our territory was annexed in 2014. One more part was annexed just days ago, and we see that Putin is making ultimatums to Ukraine and is going and preparing a military invasion to our country, killing thousands. So that is the fairy tales, and we need to stop to listen to them. The only real guarantee is in a membership in NATO, and NATO is a defensive alliance. NATO is not going to attack Russian Federation or any other country. It's a defensive alliance, and Ukraine has the right to be a part of this alliance. And it is written in our constitution. So I am very much disappointed with the position of your previous speaker, which even now, after what Putin did, is speaking like this. It's ridiculous.
I mean, perhaps in his defence, he's looking at, I understand that you were there, he's looking at a bigger picture and trying to avoid a full-scale invasion, full-scale war.
I'm sorry, but we were neutral in 2014 when Putin started war against us. How our neutrality helped us. And watch at Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, which are also, Putin is dreaming to annexate them and to occupy them. And he couldn't do this just because they're members of NATO. So that's their history. History should learn us something, or what for it is.
What do you make of the sanctions that have been announced both by America and by the UK?
That's the first step. Thanks for this step. I think the most important is German announcement yesterday about stopping of certification of Nord Stream 2 pipeline. That's extremely important. That is something which Putin will really feel. And we need more sanctions, because speaking about the UK, personal sanctions against 3 friends of Putin, that's good story, but that is not something that which will change their behavior. So we need more sanctions, and most of all, we need stopping of transferring of technologies to Russian Federation and of financing of Russian Federation in any way. That's what sanctions should do. And we need to speak about probable ban on supply from Russia of energy. That will kill Russian economy, because Russian revenues of state budget are on half, that's oil and gas, and 2/3 of their export is oil and gas. That will be something which will just kill Russian economy. And we need to speak about this to stop Putin now.
What do you think the effect of these sanctions is? We had our Foreign Secretary on the programme and she said it's highly likely that Putin will go ahead in any circumstance. And then the question comes up, well, what is the point of sanctions? But so you've answered that. You've said that sanctions will help to affect, penalise the Russian economy, but it won't necessarily stop or halt an invasion of your country.
Yes, that's true, but that's something which will change the result of the war if he will start it. So if he will understand that there will be a ban on buy of Russian energy and the Russian economy just will die, how long could Putin survive as a dictator, and how long could he afford the war? Ukraine is ready to fight for ourselves, but if the Russia will not be weakened, we can be smashed and Putin will go further. Next will be Baltic countries, Poland. He says this openly, absolutely. He says, let's not go to 1997. Tomorrow he will say, let's go back to 1991 when Soviet Union was. And the day after tomorrow, it will be 1989 with Berlin Wall and Germany divided. So that's the question of how long, if this disaster and nightmare will start, how long will it last? The more sanctions, the less possibility that it will start, and the shorter will be the period of catastrophe.